Hello, welcome, bienvenue. My French isn't that good, but at least I'm trying on Duolingo, which is more than Emily in Paris can say. Okay, two real quick things before we get into this video. One, my neighbor's been playing like Fleetwood Mac for the last 3 hours, so if that picks up again, I'm just gonna keep on filming and hope that I don't get copyright infringement. Sorry about it. And two, I filmed this video 3 days ago, which is why my hair is like day 5 hair, not day 2 hair. And y'all, I was wearing foundation shade 0.5. Okay, that's not gonna work. And my pale ass has gotten so much paler in lockdown because I never leave the house, and when I do, I'm wearing a mask, that my face was such a different shade to my neck that it looked so off. So I'm having to film this again. Anyway, if you didn't know, there is a hit new Netflix show called Emily in Paris. A no spoiler brief summary, in fact, most of this video will be pretty spoiler free, is that it's about a social media marketer called Emily who is living in Chicago, and then she goes to work for an agency in Paris to provide the American perspective. When the show was announced, everyone in my life can agree that is extremely my content. I'm a social media marketer, you probably figured that out from the title of this video. I absolutely love Paris. I know it's a cliche, I don't care, it's one of my favorite ever cities. And I love trashy workplace rom-com style shows like Sex and the City, Younger, and probably something else that the creator of Emily in Paris has also created. Also, just so you get an idea of how much I love France, in lockdown we have taken to just playing French cafe music and the Ratatouille soundtrack on repeat, and I hosted a France-themed day for my housemates where we just like ate French food and watched French movies all day. I am doing seriously fine in lockdown. So I went into this really hoping and expecting to absolutely love the show. But boy, oh boy, I am just endlessly angry. I overlook a lot of people who don't understand social media marketing in shows because, to be honest, even people in the real world don't really get it. Like at family reunions, I'm always just like, I work in PR. And even people who are my age who use social media a lot for recreational uses don't really always understand what being a social media marketer looks like from a professional perspective. For context on why you should trust me, I have worked in social media marketing for over 5 years now. A lot of that time was spent both in-house, so working for like one company or brand, and also in agencies, just like Emily in Paris, where I would be managing or supporting on like several different accounts. I'm now a sole trader slash freelancer, and I provide my services mostly to entrepreneurs, small businesses, and nonprofits because that just aligns really strongly with my own personal values. Basically, I'm very good at my job. I've worked very hard. I continue to work very hard. And so I wanted to use all the things that I've learned and my skill set to provide top tier social media solutions to people who couldn't maybe afford high-end agency fees. So now I manage brands, I provide coaching and training, I run workshops, all of that. Anyway, that's my background. If you're interested to see more about like social media marketing, if that's your kind of thing, then feel free to check out my Business Boy Instagram where I share a lot of free information. And also, I just hired a graphic designer and I'm so excited about it because the stuff she's making is top tier. And I'll also link my website which has more free resources and a rundown of my services, but most of you probably aren't interested in that. Most of you are probably just interested in seeing a sarcastic girl with blue hair get mad and petty over a Netflix show. So here it is, Emily in Paris' social media marketing career from a social media marketer. Also, this will be pretty spoiler free. I'll be discussing like specific work events, but the plot is mostly driven by her relationships and things that happen outside of work. So you're pretty safe if you're going to watch the show. I'm going to split this into 3 categories. 1 is things that are pretty technical, but I swear they're still interesting. 2 is work politics and work life. And 3 is the influencer episode. If you're interested in influencer marketing specifically, then the last section will be very interesting for you, but I had to put it last because it gets me so riled up that like I'm gonna need a nap or something afterwards. Before we get into the technical stuff, I'm just gonna break down 2 things that you guys probably noticed as well because it doesn't take a professional to pick up on these. 1 is that when Emily is doing her farewell Emily in Paris video, she posts things in the dimensions of Instagram stories, but she gets likes. You can't like an Instagram story. And 2, Emily's basic ass account would not get 20,000 followers in a couple of weeks. Those posts, those photos, no. Okay, on to the really juicy content. Things really kick off in episode 2 with Emily running her mouth at an event about a social media marketing campaign that she had just run back in America. And she really just manages to smash out like several things that aren't true in like 30 seconds. Emily mentions Googling as part of a social media campaign. Google isn't a social media platform. I think that's pretty obvious. It's a part of digital marketing, but not social media marketing. And then she's talking about a campaign for a vaccine, right? And part of it is that they saturated the web with such beautiful images, such beautiful content, that if you search things like paradise or topless beach selfies, were directed to their product, which is a vaccine. She even boasts that the campaign boosted tourism to the Virgin Islands by 30%. What? Why would tourism in the Virgin Islands be a KPI for a campaign for a vaccine? And by the way, I did actually Google when I was planning this video because I was like, maybe my one brain cell that's kind of like bumping around in here during lockdown missed something. But the Virgin Islands aren't even a high-risk area for this virus, and it wasn't even found there. It's only been there since 2016, and it's been a part of East Africa since the 1950s. So just like make it make sense.
Hello, it is Editing Fiona. I just wanted to clarify, just in case I wasn't clear enough here. The reason that this is so ridiculous is that tourism to the Virgin Islands is entirely irrelevant to the vaccine. It's kind of like if I was running a campaign for a basketball team and then I told you that actually banana sales increased by 300%. Like, it's not relevant. No, you know?
In the same episode, she decides to make a political point, which I won't mention just because it does give away something in the plot, but she makes her point online using a client product. You simply would not do this, especially if you're client-facing like Emily is. Talking about client products should really only be positive online. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I feel like that's kind of obvious though, because then that client wouldn't want to work with that agency anymore, and then you've lost business. The final technical point is when Emily takes a photo and then post it to the brand Instagram account. Just like, snap, post. And no, that would never happen. What normally happens when you're in an agency representing a brand is that you'll prepare a content calendar, which has all of the assets, all of the copy, dates, everything. You send it to the client, they review, they probably send back some amends, you fix it up, you send it over, it gets confirmed, you schedule.
There's also sometimes a brainstorming or ideation session where you'll talk to the client about the types of posts that you are hoping to create. They might give you ideas that they have or promotions that they have going on, and then you have to get all that confirmed before you create the content calendar.
None of this snap and post content, especially in the middle of the night. Like, is that even the best time, according to the data, for you to post to that specific brand account? The exception for this kind of thing is when there's like live events and you use Instagram stories. But even then, there are usually like content guidelines, like filters that you can use, fonts, pre-approved music, content volume. If you're in-house, there's less friction with this kind of thing, but as we've mentioned, Emily's not in-house, she is with an agency, so that is how we're judging it. Okay, onto workplace politics, general work things. These aren't technical, but they are quite industry specific for workplace environments, or at least in agencies for like PR, marketing events. I think that's it. I think we all know that Emily's work-life balance is not realistic in the same way that like Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City or Jane from The Bold Type write like one article a week and that's their entire job. I think we all know that's not realistic. And I get why they do it. I understand why you wouldn't include really long work days because that's not interesting for the camera. But in case you don't know, or like you're interested in going into social media marketing and you're wondering what work-life balance and all of that is like, work-life balance in social media marketing? Things that Emily did that made me laugh out loud were things like going out for dinner regularly on weeknights, booking a train for 6 p.m. on a Friday, confident, taking her lunch break. Revolutionary. I've worked in quite a few agencies, again we're judging this agency style, in best case scenarios like really fantastic work-life balance agencies with a very light workload period. I would be working until 8 p.m. about 2 or 3 nights a week and maybe like a dabble on the weekend but not usually. And at worst I was arriving at work between 7 and 8 in the morning and leaving between 9 and 10 at night every day for weeks and weeks on end. I think it ended up being months, and working weekends and long weekends and very rarely taking lunch. In-house roles do typically provide a better work-life balance, but a lot of people will start out in agencies because even though they are a lot more challenging and take up a lot more time, you learn a lot, you're pushed a lot, and that's also a style that I really like to learn and grow in. Agencies are really good for learning a lot and growing very quickly, but it really wasn't until I started working for myself that I had some semblance of a work-life balance. I can see everyone in my personal life disagreeing because I am a bit of a workaholic. I like working too much. But this time, it's on my terms. Emily also loves to pitch content to clients without talking it over with anyone in her team. This includes anything from signing new clients to the agency to encouraging brands to change their entire brand image on Emily's whims. This one is kind of workplace politics, but also kind of fun technical side of things. So when you're pitching basically anything to a client, You'll start with research, a lot of research, into their marketing, industry, trends, audience, competitors, all of that. Then you flesh out the ideas with another team member, and you get things signed off by a more senior team member. Create an entire pitch deck explaining what, why, how, really specific next steps, and KPIs, which are key performance indicators. Okay, that one was kind of technical, but just like the general audacity of Emily, she literally... She pitches putting a mattress in the Louvre for a campaign directly to the client without running it by anyone in her team first. And when her boss is like, the fuck? Emily's just like, but the client liked it, ooh. Is this the bottom? I can't do it. But this happens so many times. Emily giving her opinion on a client's campaign after it has been run directly to the client, Emily telling a client to change their entire brand image multiple times, Emily visiting clients in their house. It just wouldn't happen. You need to pitch as an agency and not as the perky American import. Finally, a minor one, but Emily complains a lot about having to work on a pharmaceutical account instead of luxury beauty brands when she first arrives. But like, girl, your background is in pharmaceuticals, so it makes sense that they would put you on that account instead of brands in a sector that you don't have experience in and are likely more valuable to the agency. Okay, finally, the influencer episode. I'm already sweaty, it's very warm in here. Summer in Australia. What? It's summer there, but it's like going into winter here. I know, it's hemispheres, baby. Everything was wrong with the influencer from top to bottom. In episode 5, Emily, with 20,000 spicy followers, receives a DM from a luxury beauty brand inviting her to an influencer lunch happening that day. I've worked on many an influencer campaign, so let me tell you a little bit about behind the scenes of an influencer event. Influencers are selected weeks, sometimes even months before the event, and invites are never sent via DM. The closest you would get is the brand DMing them to get your email address, and then they would coordinate it over there. And also, it is obviously sent more than a few hours in advance because otherwise no one would turn up. They wouldn't have the time. Anyway, it does not end there. Emily then learns that this brand is an ex-client and competitor of her agency's. And she still decides to go as if she doesn't have a non-compete in her contract, and then is absolutely floored when her boss is like, hey, could you maybe not promote our competitors for free on your Instagram account as an influencer? When she rocks up to the event, the staff treat her very poorly because she's like not famous enough. I'm not going to say that this doesn't happen. There are definitely brands who don't really know how to deal with influencer marketing. So instead, I'm just going to tell you what happened and provide my advice in case you are someone going into influencer marketing on a what not to do. Treating any influencer at your event poorly is a very bad move from a brand perspective. Firstly, you've invited them there because you have decided that they have some form of influence. And secondly, even if they're not big now, you never know how people's accounts will grow. Also, be polite to people just because it's the nice thing to do. Once she's received her little goodie bag, she is told that the influencers are expected to post a minimum of 5 in-feed posts from the event, but because of Emily's low reach, she has to post 10. First of all, they wouldn't actually know her reach. Followers and reach are not the same thing. You would only know her reach from receiving a media kit, which like, did she send that over DM after receiving her invite? Secondly, 5 posts or 10 is an obscenely high number. All of their followers will get brand fatigue so fast. In general, at influencer events or when gifting to influencers without a budget, so you're not paying them to promote things, you can't expect the influencer to post anything at all unless it was written into a contract or it was like a condition of receiving the gift or attending the event. What you can do is select your influencers very carefully, give them a good time or provide a really good gift, make everything as Instagrammable as possible, and then hope for the best. And yes, if you're wondering, that includes micro-influencers. Emily's whole reason for attending this event though was to meet with the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, and convince her to like come back to Savoir. But honestly, the CMO of a major global beauty brand wouldn't be at a pretty small influencer event like this, or personally ask a micro-influencer to be a brand ambassador, or agree to meet with that micro-influencer the next day for a lunch. You're too busy for this. Send someone else. Another influencer issue, which I'll pop into this section so it's all, packaged up nicely, is Emily being asked to head up and lead the influencer campaign for a luxury mattress company where people go and take photos sitting on this luxury mattress in a really beautiful location. And Emily is asked to be the first person to post the first photo and really kick off this campaign. And this is a bad idea. But it's also a really common mistake that a lot of people make when running influencer campaigns, so we're gonna break it down for you. One of the most common and largest mistakes that I see is people thinking that influencers are representative of their audience. This is sometimes true. For example, if you make products for pet reptiles, working with influencers who have entire social media presences about taking care of your pet reptile is a pretty good idea, because you can pretty safely assume that a large portion of their followers either have pet reptiles or are looking into getting a pet reptile. But it isn't always as straightforward. A swimsuit model might seem like an amazing fit for a bikini company, but in this specific case, her audience is 80% male, and those men aren't going to buy the bikinis. This isn't to say that all bikini models have an 80% male audience, it's just an example. But in that situation, it's a complete waste of brand money to pay her to promote your bikinis. This exact problem happens in Emily in Paris. Emily's an influencer in Paris, and she's posting about Paris, and in person she seems really chic and sophisticated and luxurious. But also her posts are pretty mediocre, so her followers likely aren't in the tax bracket that this luxury mattress company are trying to reach. Also, all of her posts are in English, and her view of France is specifically of an American experiencing Paris for the first time. Because of this, the majority of her audience likely aren't French or Parisian. Of course, she could check this if she ever wanted to look at any data or analytics, because when working with influencers, you can ask for a media kit, and that should have a breakdown of their demographics, so where people live, their age, their gender, all of that. But like, why would any of that happen in this show? She's essentially really just not a great fit to lead this campaign, aside from the fact that she is available and will work for free. Okay, I'm done. I am done now. We have made it through the sun setting, through the music playing, through me sweating. Apparently I sweat more when I'm not wearing my makeup. So if you're looking for a really sweat-proof foundation, Urban Decay All Nighter. If you're also too pale for the shade 0.5, let me know. I really hope that that was interesting for you guys. I'm really passionate about my job. I think that kind of came across in this. So I think it's really interesting and cool, and I hope it was really interesting and cool for you guys as well. As I mentioned earlier, if you are interested in learning about social media marketing, my Business Boy Instagram and website are down below. If you're new here, you don't know that normally I don't promote my business stuff on here. That's not what this channel is about, but I was just so impassioned by this that I had to make a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye! Oh God, oh, sorry, sir.